Hello, LibertyCon. I'm Steve Jackson, and I'm here with Phil Reed, and we're going to talk about what we've got new at SJ Games. The news is that COVID has not killed us, and it has not killed the game hobby, so we're looking forward to getting closer to normal. We had our FNORDCon 3 virtually, but number 4 will be in the fall, and that will probably still be a virtual just because people liked it. But we will hold a live FNORDCon in the spring, and I'm planning to go to DragonCon if that happens live, and if it doesn't, I'll be part of the virtual show. We've got a lot of stuff for you here, so we're going to move kind of fast, so try not to blink, or if you do blink, try and scroll it back. New Munchkin stuff. This is Munchkin Kaiju. This is a little set of Japanese monsters. It's a supplement for Munchkin Apocalypse. We have Munchkin Bosses, which is a supplement for General Munchkin with big monsters and big hairy problems. And this one is Munchkin Enhancers, which is just what it sounds like. It gives bonuses to monsters. If you want a higher powered game, this is the one that you run into it.
Okay, we've also got our Munchkin level die. This is a 10-sided die. We are sorry we didn't make it larger. It does roll like a die. And these are now officially manufactured. They are on a container ship on the way to the US, and we will make these available later this summer through Warehouse 23, and we've got a couple other ideas for them as well. But if you have a hard time seeing your opponent's level from across the table, ask them to pick up a level die, and I promise you can see it from across the table. Also, on the Munchkin dice front, we've just created and started to ship this new Munchkin dice tray. It does include a rule, because we know what Munchkin fans need, and it's just a quick little snap-together dice tray, and once you are complete, you roll your dice in the tray.
Okay.
We've also got a series of Munchkin dice bags that we're just starting to ship. There's the original Munchkin Spike dice bag. This is already shipped to stores. You should be able to find it now. There's a Munchkin Kittens dice bag. We also have a Unicorns dice bag. This one features Katie Cook art, and it's as adorable as you could expect.
Now, coming up in September, we're going to bring you Munchkin Russia, which is a translation of a set that was first done in Russian by Russians for Russians, and it was fairly awesome, so we got permission to produce it in the United States. That ought to be a September thing.
Also coming later this year, we have Munchkin Farkle. This is a standalone game. It's based on the classic Farkle game, but we have completely Munchkinized it, which means every player has their own hand of cards, and these cards give you powers during the game to either affect the other players, affect your own play, but if you don't use a card, at the end of the game, it is worth bonus points. So if you've ever played Farkle, you'll already know how to play this, but it does have a Munchkin twist to it. And this will be out October of this year.
And we've got some mini expansions coming up.
We do. We are reprinting several of the small 15 and 30 card Munchkin sets. These were, some were originally in thin seal packaging, some were in blister cards. We've updated all of them now to be tuck boxes, so they better fit with the rest of the Munchkin expansions. Makes it useful for retailers, and when you go to look in the store, you're not going to be confused about is that a Munchkin game anymore because it's the exact sort of packaging you're used to seeing.
We also be noticing that Munchkin Booty be out of print these 5 long years, give or take. I not count so good past 3 because only got 3 fingers, 6 fingers. Anyway, Munchkin Booty be coming back. And we've got some brand new Munchkin stuff as well. We will be bringing you through our partnership with the Op, Disney Munchkin, which is just exactly what it sounds like. This has a nice little twist in it. You will find yourself singing Disney theme songs. And if that doesn't give you an opportunity to be stupid, you need to practice more, is all I can say. And we've got the Munchkin Critical Role game. If you have seen the Critical Role streaming series, you know what this is about. If you haven't seen it, then that's the next thing you should watch right after this show. But so the Mighty Nine on cards, doing stupid stuff and yet surviving.
We also want to remind you of the Munchkin Warhammer 40,000 and Munchkin Warhammer Age of Sigmar games. These started shipping over the last couple of years. They continue to be very strong sellers to the point we actually have another Munchkin Warhammer 40,000 expansion in the works and coming out early in 2022.
This, and I'm going to hold it up and see if you can see it. This is a prototype. This is metal. The real one will be plastic, but this is a 24-sided die that has on it the runes of the Elder Futhark, which, I don't know how we got along without so many years. It's going to, like the Zodiac die, which is already in stores, it will have a book explaining how to do various RPG-related functions using the runic die. Then we've got our Candy Heart dice in edible colors. Do not eat. They're even slightly matte surfaced, so they've got absolutely the right feel to them.
Coming out later this year, we have a pack of hex bases. There are 14 in the pack. It's 2 each of 7 different colors. We originally made the base for the Dungeon Fantasy role-playing game, but we've had enough requests for the base on its own that we're creating this set that will come out late this year. We've also been making several different dice bags. We just started shipping the Cyber Skull bag earlier this year. We have a reprint of the Dice Dragon dice bag coming up this summer, and for the reprint, we changed the colors, including the colors of the dice that come with it. And all of our bags are satin lined, they're double stitched. We did all the work based on retailer feedback and after talking to everyone at conventions to find out what you want out of a bag. And a lot of it was, you want a bag that is big, durable, and can hold a lot of dice, and all of these can hold over 100 different dice. So they are very big bags.
We've got more dice prototypes here. These are prototypes of the weather dice. The real ones will be different colors, but the intent is that you pick a die for the climate that you are interested in. We've named them all after cities, so Austin is very different from Seattle. And they have weatherman type symbols on them. These will just be fun. And I have no idea why we have black and white prototypes of colored dice. The game industry is very, very mysterious sometimes. Puppy and kitten dice are continuing their win. What can I say about them other than that they are dice and they roll and they have cute Katie Cook images on them.
We also have the Skull and Dragon dice. that we started shipping earlier this year. These packs have 8 dice in each one. You can find them at your favorite local game store, or check Warehouse 23 if your local store doesn't have them.
And we've got radiation and biohazard dice. That's the radiation with the yellow-green color, and that's the biohazard. And these are very attractive. I wanted dice with those symbols on them, but when we just popped the symbols on the side of the dice, it wasn't interesting looking. So was it Alex who did this treatment?
Ben,
or it
I
was
think,
Ben who did? Anyway, these focus on a part of the symbol. You can still see what it is, but it's just more interesting to roll. They work too.
We also, in the 19mm dice range, have the hex dice. These are numbered dice, and then also mega hex dice, where the colors of the hexes tell you what you've rolled.
We've
You
got
have the micro dice bag there.
Mm-hmm. There's the micro bag. This is the tiniest dice bag we've ever produced, and it happened because I found myself carrying around a little bitty bag that I had gotten somewhere with just a set of polyhedra and D6 in it. This, when stuffed, will still fit in your pocket, and it holds more than you think, as we demonstrate. More. So that's enough to get by, and it's got the flaming die symbol on it. That's just loose in there. That's the zodiac die that's already come out. And this is a prototype of a weird little dice and card game. The cards are not in here. The bag's going to look slightly different, prototype. But this is the key to it. This is a D6 with 5 little D6 inside it. And in one roll quest, you roll the die once, and that tells you everything that happened to all of your characters for the whole quest. Sometimes you die.
We have the Roman dice at the factory now that are starting to come together. These are early prototypes, and it is a polyhedral set. The dice are a bit larger than usual, and they are covered in Roman numerals. So your 20-sided is all set to roll. Looks like I rolled a 10.
You got an X. Wiz War is an old game, a very old game, and I have loved playing it for decades. This is its 9th edition. After decades of pleading with the designer, we got the rights to produce it, and I'm so glad. We've got a cover by Phil Folio here. Big play maps, and they're two-sided, so you've got that randomization there. The cutout in the middle is a new gimmick for this edition. You put your colored marker in there, and it falls right out again because this is the prototype.
Prototype. This one
Okay.
should be the new one. Nope.
Nope,
Also
that one also falls right out. We've had more fun with getting them to do a dot that's the same size as the hole. But it will be solved before you see it. And it's got a set of standees and a set of colored markers. We're going to kickstart this very soon, and if the Kickstarter languishes, you won't see this whole thing. We have designed it for up to 8 different standees with a lot of gewgaws. It's only supposed to be a 6-player game. The idea of the extra standees is just to give you more choice in characters. I want the Kickstarter to do so very well that the final production looks exactly like this prototype. But it's got life counters and very, very readable cards. but it's not about the components, it's about what a fun game it is. Everybody plays a wizard. You're down in the dungeon trying to steal the treasures of the other wizards, and killing them is good too. It's a very fast-moving game. It's a tactical game. Everything is by draw of cards, but then you have to decide how to use the cards. So you have both randomness and skill. Awesome game. I'm so happy that we finally got it coming out. You would have seen it a year ago if not for the pandemic, but you're going to see it.
And at the same time, when we are taking WizWar to Kickstarter, we are going to include a reprint of Greed Quest that has been out of print for 15 years, 16 years, quite a long
while.
time. And for the reprint, we have upgraded the board to a mounted board. We've upgraded all the standees to heavier stock, but it is the classic original Greed Quest game, just with now nicer components.
But like WizWar, this has Phil's illustrations. So if you're a folio fan, you want this, and if you're not, you need to be. Let's look at Hack and Slash.
Hack and Slash it is.
Yeah. This is a brand new one. The cover by Lara D'Souza. Hack and Slash is a fast game. This is a good one to play while you're waiting for everybody to show up. You get a whole lot of meeples. Your meeples will represent the members of your adventuring party. You have cards that represent the different quests that you can take on. And you roll dice to see how well you do. It's every turn you will pick a quest from those available. You will commit some meeples to it. You'll roll to see if you take the card. If you fail, you can commit one more meeple to try and rescue the first batch. And if you make the roll that time, you will get the card anyway. Otherwise, the adventurers quit your party in disgust, and you will have to go back to the tavern to get more. If you're ever down to 0, well, you're out. Game ends. Scarf and Barf, since we're into games with ampersands in them. Got another D'Souza cover. This is a game about going to the carnival, riding the rides, eating the food, and not throwing up. Is there any more to it than that?
No,
that's it in a nutshell.
It is not surprisingly designed by Randy Schuneman, who is about the only person who would think, you know, it's a fun game is where you go somewhere to an amusement park and eat too much and throw up. So I'm just happy I didn't go on the live playtest with him.
Okay, and you saw this earlier, now you see it again. This is the Zodiac die. We have a great big D12 with the symbols of the Zodiac on it, and a book that tells you how to use this die to create a character or to assign a little bit more background to someone that you already have. And in one of our cat bags, we have, now this is another prototype, so it's going to look really, really skeevy.
This is a very early prototype.
Yes, you recognize the old Risk armies. But Cats in a Bag is a game about adopting cats. And it's a real quickie. But you adopt new cats, you pass cats, you swap cats. Sometimes you draw cats out of the bag or put them back in. And you're trying to get one cat of every color.
We also have Gelatinous that started shipping last year. This is an excuse to pick up 42 green glitter dice. With gelatinous, you get the bag, you get all the dice. The bag actually has the rules printed on it because it's so fast and simple. And what you're going to do is roll your 7 dice, and you're trying to build yourself a gelatinous cube so you can take over the dungeon. And only one player will win, actually grow into a cube.
Okay, now we're going to show you some images of miniatures that we're working on. The Ogre the Ogre Minis set 4. I don't know if we have any slides except the infantry to show you, but that one was, like everything else, delayed by the pandemic, but is now coming forward, and it will finally let the Ogre Minis fans complete their sets. Then we have some images of the STL files that we first showed off at FNORDCon for Fantasy Trip miniatures. We're trying to come up with some miniatures that go with the way you actually play Melee and Wizard, that show the kind of characters and monsters that you need. And there's a reprint coming up of Shea Cthulhu as well, and we don't have a new one to wave at you, so it's in the slide batch. But you remember Shea Cthulhu. That's Shea Geek, only with tentacles.
Also coming out later this summer, we have the Random Fun Generator. This was a Kickstarter project late last year that took us by surprise at the amount of support it received. It's a book of dice games, and they're all fast. They play simple. We know for sure you can play them through video streaming because all of the design, development, playtesting, editing, everything was done early in 2020 when we first went into a lockdown, and the team continued to work remotely. So over the course of about 2 or 3 months, we just kept designing and playing these games. We took it to Kickstarter and ended up with almost 4,000 backers, which told us it was definitely worth taking to the next step. So what we've done now is packed it into a box. We've added 20 dice, and it will ship to stores in August with a retail of $19.95 for 21 different dice games. Also this summer, we are returning to the classic plastic pocket box. We ran a Kickstarter campaign to reprint 16 different plastic pocket box games. That did phenomenally well. In the end, we had 36 different titles in total. And this summer, we're returning to Kickstarter with a mix of older games that were never in a pocket box but would fit in that format, a brand new game that Steve designed that will be in the pocket box, and a classic Illuminati edition of the 2020 expansion that Steve designed in the middle of 2020 when we were all having so much fun at home.
Yeah. Work got done. It was just
challenging.
Not the favorite way to do it. When we were setting up for this filming, in fact, we all noticed that it was the first time we had gotten together in the office with a meeting with more than 2 or 3 people in months and months and months. And we were all commenting on how pleasant it was to occasionally, be in the same room with people, even just doing work. Okay, Fantasy Trip stuff. First, I have some Fantasy Trip news, which will be a little less new by the time you hear this, but we have a new line editor for Fantasy Trip. That's Peter von Kleinsmith. We also have a couple of hardback books that are shipping. One of them is the Old School Monsters book. These monsters are really old school. They were originally created for the game whose name I cannot say for promotional purposes. But you know them, you like them, you would like to kill them in Fantasy Trip 2, and here they are. The set also comes with information cards for each creature. and tactical counters, ranging from I'm only holding those up enough to glare is what the monitor says. Maybe you can see those now, and maybe we can shoot a slide of one of them and let you focus a little bit more. The other hardback is the second set of Fantasy Trip Adventures, and that's just what it sounds like. It's a 64-page book. It contains 5 short adventures, and it has tactical counters, including map megahexes, to go with each of those. I should comment that this is a really hard format for us to do adventures in, because the people really like the counters and we like doing them. They bring the game to life, but at the same time, it makes it take longer.
Yeah, the manufacturing for these is about 6 to 8 months these days because of the pandemic and shipping issues. And when we sent these to print, we had a schedule in mind. We knew what we were doing. And of course, the pandemic hit. But fortunately, we had built enough time into the schedule that we still managed to meet our estimated ship date for both books. But that was only because we were paranoid and cautious and built months into the schedule we thought we didn't need. And we absolutely needed them.
Mm-hmm. And this is a new format for us. The name for the series is going to be Quick Quests. This is the whole thing. It's about 2,500 words, and you can use it different ways. You can play it just as a pure one-shot and finish it in 1 or 2 nights. You can use it as a campaign launcher, though in that case the GM is going to have to make sure that you don't slay the big bad immediately, especially since the big bad in this one is not all that bad, just nuts. But it's good nuts. It's like if Batman were to kill the Joker. Think of all the really good comic books we'd miss. I'm hoping to hear lots of stories about how the Goblin Sorceress and her dragon buddy got away and did more crazy stuff. I'm probably out of our planned order telling this, but we've got 2 more quick quests kickstarting very soon, and several more on the way. And it's a $5 retail, so we think a lot of you will pick it up.
On the Kickstarter that's coming up for Quick Quest number 2 and 3, we are also going to be offering a new Labyrinth Encounter Cards deck.
That is, again, it's what it sounds like. They're GM aids. You can pull them during the game just to see what they find around the next corner. I personally prefer to pull them before the game, use them for inspiration, and think a little bit more about what it doesn't say in the card, but asks, because the cards present questions as well as statements.
Yeah, the cards are purely inspirational for the game master who wants some ideas, and they work best if you shuffle them up, grab a card or two, and say, I like this one a lot. Let's turn this into an encounter for the heroes, and maybe I can kill them with this idea.
Yeah.
And along a similar line, I don't think Steve's told anyone yet about the sampler deck of cards he's been working on.
No, go ahead, leak it.
So we've released the Outdoor Encounter cards, we've released the Infinite Arena, we have Labyrinth Encounter cards coming, and we know that one of the coolest things about card decks is how you can just shuffle more cards into the deck. So Steve's created a sampler deck that has new cards for each of those 3 different decks. You don't need the sampler deck, but if you get it, it expands those 3 existing decks.
And if you don't have any of they're not expensive. If you don't have any of the existing decks and you see the sampler, you might like it. It might cause you to give us more money.
Yeah,
Money is good.
each part of the sampler deck has enough for you to have a mini deck of that type. So you've got a little outdoor encounter deck with, I think, 5 choices. You've got a small infinite arena deck that you can use to mix and match hazards and the battle conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got a selection of labyrinth encounters as well. And none of these are duplicates.
The slide that you've got up there right now is some images of the Fantasy Trip miniatures that we're working on. How much do we want to talk about how we might release these? Any at all?
I think we should go into some detail.
Okay.
And let people know
Okay.
what's coming.
Well, we don't know what's coming, but we're thinking about two angles. One of them is to just release them as a Kickstarted miniature set. That means it would be more than a year before you saw them, even though they're already made up, because getting minis made and troubleshot and shipped just takes that long these days. Plan B would be to sell sets of the STL files, which only helps you if you have a 3D printer or a friend with a 3D printer, but that's, that circle on the Venn diagram is getting bigger and bigger every month. We're about to get a couple of 3D printers for the office here for all kinds of experimentation. And we also have the wild thought that with new technology, we might actually be able to get a moderately sized injection molder and use it here. That's a complete wild hair. The manufacturer demonstrated an injection molder at Gamma that sounds pretty good. Now we have to learn more.
And the samples we got from that machine were more impressive than I was expecting.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They're a hard paintable plastic. The models have undercuts. It's like, okay, how does it get that good off something that you could put into a room the size of this studio? So we're going to learn more. Let's do GURPS.
We have GURPS Girl Genius coming to Kickstarter this summer after 17 years of development, I think.
Mm-hmm. Had a few false starts, but it's a fantastic book. It not only has the folio illustrations from the comic generously interspersed, but it has a new original folio cover and some comments.
And for this one, I think it's going to be the first book we manufacture in the UK, because we've found a printer that we really like. The samples are good, the pricing looks good, and their turnaround time is a lot faster than if we were to manufacture in Southeast Asia or the US. So if everything goes well, it'll actually be a Kickstarter we can fulfill relatively quickly if it succeeds.
And we're going to have more small GURP stuff as well.
We do. In 2020, in the summer, we ran a PDF challenge Kickstarter project that went amazing. There was 2,700 backers, I think-ish, and their support created 12 new GURPS PDFs that were shipped out to all those backers. And the fun part of it was designed around, let's give everyone as much as possible. So a pledge as low as $3 at the end scored these dozen new PDFs. It went great, so we're doing it again this summer. The team is already working on the 12 new PDFs that we will use as a part of the campaign. We don't have a date yet, but please watch the Daily Eliminator. Please follow us on Kickstarter, and we will launch just as soon as we are ready.
The other thing about GURPS, you've probably heard, but you're hearing it again, we are moving forward on a licensed GURPS books for Eric Flint's Ring of Fire series. And there's going to be a talk about that probably broadcast live here at LibertyCon. Now let's talk about Car Wars.
Okay, we can talk about Car Wars. We have been working on Car Wars for years. I don't want to say a decade, but it feels like it's been at least a decade since we started the work. And the game has been at the factory, it's in manufacturing, it is now in the final stages of manufacturing. We expect to move into the assembly stage in about a week. Once that's done, then it goes into the shipping stage to the US, which these days it's about 60 days for things to make it from the factory to our warehouse in the US. This was a Kickstarter campaign. There's a very high chance that you are a back part of that Kickstarter campaign, and thank you very much. And it is late. We will not deny that. The pandemic has seriously disrupted our schedules, and on top of that, Car Wars was just a large, complicated project. There are over 30 plastic car minis in the game and the expansions that are all being made at once, which was a little ambitious for us for a first go at this type of release, but it was way too fun. Here we have some painted samples. These were painted by Ben Williams in our office. They do not come painted. What you get are just gray plastic cars. They're huge, they're detailed. They're not just minis, they're actually little model kits that you don't have to stress about because they are coming pre-assembled. You take it out of the box, you're ready to start playing. The new Car Wars game keeps the feel of the classic game where you've got cars with guns, you're going to drive around, you're going to blow your friends away, but it plays remarkably faster. So much faster than the original game. If you're an old school Car Wars fan, you know it wouldn't have been out of line to say we're going to play 6 hours. And now you can do that exact same gameplay in an hour and a half at most.
But the neat thing is that it still feels like Car Wars. That was the big design goal from the beginning, is we said, okay, things are going to change. This is, well, at the time we said it, it was 2018, but this has to be updated, but if we change the feel of it, we've ruined it. And we ended up changing everything, but somehow leaving it all the same. And what I have put up here for you is another car to get a tiny bit closer so maybe we can see it better. And we are going to be doing post-game support, just depending on what people ask for. But one thing that we know we're going to offer is some little cast resin road hazards. There's also going to be a Jersey barrier, but I don't have one of those here to show you. But we've got barrels which might explode or just crunch and go out of the way, traffic cones, traffic barrels. It's just going to be cute. Do we have components that we can show off for inside Car Wars?
Not at the moment, but we can definitely add slides.
Okay. We will add some slides and you will be able to see the record keeping. I guess hand gestures are totally pointless when the box is in the way. You've got a record keeping board about that big with sliders on it. Combat and keeping the road are both managed by rolling dice, so you've got a lot of dice in this set.
Yeah, the game plays in a 3-foot by 3-foot space. We've got multiple playmats you can choose from. We have road tiles you can choose from. If you like, you can just use a bare tabletop, Or
Don't do that.
you may want to build yourself a 3D arena, in which case the new props that Steve has in the works for the barrels and traffic cones will go nicely with the rest of your setup.
The other thing that you can do is use HO scale buildings and weather them and shoot them up appropriately and drive circles around them. We have some of those in-house that we used for initial promo photographs, and those and some lichen and the beautifully painted cars make it look really neat.
And if you missed the Kickstarter campaign, don't stress about that, because there will be 2 different 2-player sets that we will offer to distributors. The 4 mini sets will be offered to distributors, and the other accessories and expansions that were created as part of the Kickstarter will be available direct from us through Warehouse 23.
Yep, we're very pleased and proud to finally be getting this out, and you're going to like it. It's great.
And if all goes well, we'll run demos at Gen Con and Origins this year.
And I can certainly bring some with me next year at a live Liberty Con, because I'm planning to come back. And really, is that?
I think that covers
I
this.
think we're wrapped up.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for listening, and come to Liberty Con next year. Say hi to me.
Thank you.
Thanks.